Hi there, welcome to the Social Selling and CRM webinar. We're going to give it a couple of minutes before we start, but just to let you know, Jiggy Patel and I've got Daniel Disney here with me as well. Welcome to everyone that's joined so far.
Morning, everybody. Yeah, we've got a few minutes before we'll kick off on the hour, but we thought we'd let everyone into the webinar platform so we can get all warmed up and ready to go when the clock hits 10, which is I think is about 4 minutes, if I'm right in thinking so.
So while we're waiting, why don't you let us know, where you're from and who we've got today. Just post into the chat channel. It'd be great to hear from you.
Jiggy, I don't know if you've seen my mug today. I've got the I Heart Sales mug of coffee today.
It took me a long time to say I was happy to be called a saleswoman.
I saw there's a guy in my network, Tim Johnson. He's a sales director up north in the UK, and he put a poll out asking whether people thought sales was still a dirty word as such. And
yeah,
it was funny because the majority of voters said no, but I think the majority of the comments were sort of saying yes. And I don't know about you. I think my opinion is it is. I think a lot of people do still make quick judgments on sales people, whether
no, you're right.
But,
you are right. Absolutely.
I think there are less bad salespeople now than there used to be. So I think the reality is it is less of a bad thing, but doesn't mean that the perception's changed yet.
But I think also it's a more varied role, isn't it? It's not just about selling, it's about advising. It's that trusted advisor side of things.
Yeah. The buyer now has a lot more power than they used to have, a lot more information. So the sort of tactics that salespeople used to use years ago won't get you anywhere now because the buyer has knowledge and it has choice. There are more competitors and options out there than have ever been before. So you can't get away with the slick. Hello, Christine. Good morning. Again, let us know where in the wonderful world you are tuning in from today. And please do say hello. We will be starting in just under 3 minutes now. It's quite a miserable day where I am. I don't know what the weather's like where you are.
It's definitely turned. Autumn is here.
Goodbye summer, goodbye sun. Hello rain.
I walked my son to school today and got drenched. Bless. That's we're heading for that time though, aren't we? I mean, God, we've had a glorious summer though.
Do you know
Can't complain.
One of the nicest parts of this year has been the weather. We've been very lucky sun-wise in the UK. Yeah.
It could definitely have been a lot worse, but being able to see the sunshine and smile, whether you're in lockdown or not, it's been great.
Right, good morning. Christian from Sweden. Don't say summer's ended yet. Paul from Shepperton. Good morning, welcome. We've got a couple of minutes, so last chance for teas and coffees and drinks before we get started. We will kick this off in just 1 minute now. We'll be back in 2 seconds.
Yeah. So we're doing great with attendees. If you have joined, please do put in your location, say hello in the chat window. Hi, Joanne. Glad you could be with us. Hi, Artie. Artie from India. And we've got Angie from Bahrain.
Christian pointing out the dogs. Apologies, I have some dogs here. They may bark. I'm going to try and keep them nice and quiet. They are quite settled, but sometimes there might be a little bit of barking. Apologies in advance.
Hi, Emma from Knutsford. And Matt. Yeah, you're right. Not so sunny, unfortunately. So, hey, it's 10 o'clock. Let's kick off. I'm Jiggy Patel, Head of Customer Experience here at Gold Vision, and I'm so excited to be able to co-host this webinar today with none other than Daniel Disney, the ever famous Daniel Disney. But Daniel, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Oh, thank you, Jiggy. I'm just as excited to be delivering this with you. I've done a fair few webinars over the years, but as we were just sort of saying, it's nice to do it with someone else. And what I'm so excited about this webinar is what you're about to share, which is actually real life application and results from social selling. A lot of what I teach is obviously the theory behind it, but what you're going to dig into today is how you and the team at Gold Vision have actually utilized LinkedIn and social selling as a tool and deliver some really, really impressive results. So I think we've got a very exciting webinar today.
And with that, let's get started. And, just to mention, for those of you that do hold on till the end, there's, an absolute exclusive for you, some great content that we've got. So, do hold on until the end because we're excited to be sharing it with you for the first time as well. So the webinar's about social selling and CRM. If you haven't started using social media yet, then absolutely you need to get on the bandwagon. When we talk about social media, we're talking about LinkedIn, we're talking about Twitter, we're talking about Facebook as well. It has absolutely transformed the sales process. But if we think about how we buy in our everyday lives, we do our research before we do anything. We look at reviews, we look at everything that's available. And to be honest, we've become the experts ourselves before we've even spoken to a salesperson.
The power is very much in the buyer now compared to what it used to be. You're able to find so much information. And I think the one question, if anyone ever asks, should I be using social selling or LinkedIn to sell? The only question you need to ask yourself is, are your customers using it? If your prospects and customers are on LinkedIn, Twitter, any social media network, if they are on it, then as a salesperson, as a business, you need to be as well. If they're using it, so should you.
Absolutely, and it's really not new. So if you haven't started doing a little bit of research, we're here today to give you hopefully a little bit of confidence and a bit of spark to just get out there and start to use some of the methods that we're going to be talking about. So why social selling? We've touched on this a little bit already, but look at that, 78% of buyers say they're using social media platforms to make their purchases. 84% of executives, you just can't afford to miss out. And you're right, the way what we do purchase, we research now. This webinar particularly is going to focus on LinkedIn and some of the practices that we've been doing here at Gold Vision with regards to LinkedIn. But absolutely, there are other platforms that are available.
LinkedIn's the biggest one in the B2B space, and is actually really big in the B2C space as well, business to business, business into consumer. But you're right, Jiggy, there are things like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and actually what you'll learn in today is very much applicable. All I would recommend is that you do sort of do your research for each other platform. You can't just copy and paste the same stuff across all of them. But I think LinkedIn's probably the biggest one. Your profile's far bigger than it is on any other social media network. The content is certainly of a higher caliber. So you'll learn a lot of relevant stuff today that can be then, converted over to other networks as well.
And you're getting it from Daniel as an expert. I wouldn't class myself as an expert because what I'm talking to you about today is what I've learned literally over the last couple of years. And obviously we're going to show you the results of what I've learned. So why social selling and what are the benefits? Well, key benefits are you've got all of this information at your fingertips on platforms like LinkedIn. You should know your people that you're selling to, and they expect to understand their buyers as well because they're going to be looking at everything they can find out about you. Get to know the contacts that you're working with, their personas, follow their companies. You've got a chance to really understand them inside out. In terms of leads, the quality of your leads are absolutely improved because you can see exactly what that person's pain points are by what they're posting, the way that they work, what their culture's like. You've got a real insight into that without even speaking to them. But more than anything, use platforms like LinkedIn to build your brand. Take us for an example. We're in the CRM industry. We're absolutely flooded with competitors in our market. LinkedIn for us has given us that chance to sell our brand, but allow our buyers to understand what we're about, really get to know us, get to be under our skin and know what we're talking about as well. So some real benefits there.
Well, people buy from people, and the beauty of LinkedIn and social selling is that ability to build a personal brand. And Jiggy, as you said, in a competitive industry, it's a really easy way to stand out from the competition. And I can, say, looking at most industries over the last few years, a minority of companies are actually leveraging LinkedIn properly. So it is the perfect opportunity to gain a competitive advantage against your competitors who probably aren't using LinkedIn properly. So now's a great time to start, and we're going to lay the foundations today.
So here's a quick poll for everyone that's joined currently. So are you using social media platforms for your business purposes? I'm just going to share that poll now. Let us know if you're already using social media for business purposes. It'll just give us an idea of who we've got and, whether you're using it a little bit or a lot. That's great to see, 100%. 100% of everyone on this webinar. Let's follow up with another quick one while we're here. So when you were getting going with social media, just tell us about what your biggest barrier might have been in terms of getting started.
I thought we might see a variety of answers coming through, and not surprised, not sure where to start, don't have the time. Fear of doing it wrong, definitely a big one. Good to see not many people saying not sure it's for me. I meet a few people that sometimes say that, but definitely the majority seem to be sitting where everyone's voting, which is don't know where to start with it all. And you don't know what you don't know. It's hard to learn something new. Time, again, always a barrier, more in our mind than in reality. Everyone has the same 24 hours per day, but how we process that mentally differs. And then fear of doing it wrong, again.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
That is really interesting. So let's move on here. So what does social selling involve? We're going to touch on, like I said, a few tips and tricks as part of this webinar, but essentially social selling is about doing your research, about connecting with people and engaging with them, but then using that information to nurture the contacts that you've got. Absolutely. I mean, both Daniel and I would recommend that don't do social selling on its own. Combine it with things like webinars, with ebooks, with blogs that you've written, but also more traditional methods. And I will talk a little bit later about using ABM and integrating ABM with some of these methods as well, and how that can really change and, push forward, high jump you into using social selling.
The reality is, I mean, years and years ago, most of your prospects were sat on a desk with a phone, and that was the only way you could reach them. So you could invest everything into using the phone. But it's so different now. They have a phone, they have email, they have social media, they watch videos, they receive posts. There are so many different ways you can engage a prospect. And so as salespeople and as businesses, it's our job now to make sure we're using all of those. If you limit the ones you use, you're missing all these different ponds of fish that you could be fishing in. So Jiggy, you're absolutely right. This is part of a well-balanced diet. It's important you utilize all of the tools available to maximize your reach.
Absolutely. So what I'm going to talk a little bit about is social selling at Gold Vision. We absolutely realized that social selling was out there, it was happening, and we needed to get onto the bandwagon and understand it a little bit better. In order to do that, a small group of us decided to set up what we call the SMAG group, the Social Media Action Group.
I love the name SMAG, by the way.
Yeah, we still use it now. We still use it as part of our communication internally, which is great. Everyone knows what it means. But we built this group through different team members, and to be honest, it was through fear. None of us knew what to do, how to do it. We'd heard that social was a thing and we needed to understand it better. So by forming this group, it just gave us the confidence to look each other in the face and say, well, I don't know. Well, let's go and find out. And like I say, individually, some of us had a little bit of knowledge, and it was a bit of training for other people as well. But what this helped us do is really identify our strategy and think about what our high-level objectives were. And what is really key to this is you have to come up with a strategy of your own that's going to work for you. For us, very much, it was building early objectives around what we thought would work for us. Obviously, social's a huge arena. We like to be seen as a professional organization, a trusted organization. We saw a lot on platforms like LinkedIn, which we thought, well, that's really not going to be for me. That's not going to be for us. That's not how we want people to see us. So you've got to define a strategy that works best for you, that is also understood by employees and goes along with your brand as well. But for us, here are some of the early objectives that we set. We wanted our employees to be trusted professional partners and to be seen that way. We wanted to ingrain social media throughout the business and the best practices that we decided. But we wanted, as well as a SMAG group, to be an advisory service, so that when someone said, oh yeah, but I'm a bit scared of doing that, they've got a support arm more than anything else, but just drive the engagement too.
I think of all the companies I've worked with over the last few years, every single one of them, there is always at least one or two, usually a few people within the team, often sat within sales, marketing, sometimes other departments, that are just naturally an advocate for social and for LinkedIn. And actually, some of them will be using it without you even realizing. You'd be surprised how many people in the company have their own blog or, utilize social media. It may not be LinkedIn, it may be other platforms, but either way, they have an interest. And if you can bring them together, you're going to stand a far greater chance of then leading the rest of the team. Instead of just one person trying to bang the drum on their own, having a team can really help you maximize that sort of multi-corporate level engagement. Everyone should have a SMAG.
Absolutely. And just going back to building those high level objectives, it goes back to having that fear factor, doesn't it? You won't be fearful if you've thought about your strategy, you've thought about your objectives, and you do it right from the start. Don't do something for the sake of it. And I think that's something we learned really early on in our platform into social. So here are 6 steps that we came up with. Absolutely, if you have a sales and marketing team, align them, because that can really spearhead you into social. And you'll see later on, some of the content that we're going to share with you. I'm so blessed to have an amazing marketing team that work really well with our sales team that have made this happen for us. So try, if you do form a SMAG group, get your sales and marketing teams and other teams involved.
This is probably the closest sales and marketing I've ever sort of got together when it comes to social selling. The marketing team need the sales insights, and the sales team need the marketing insights. The sales team are going to be doing marketing activities. So when we talk about creating content, that's not a natural sales skill, that's a marketing skill. So you need them to teach that. But the insights they share, the sales team don't just need that sort of more corporate marketing content. They need to create their own stories, and they need content that's directly valuable to their target prospects, which means the salespeople need to kind of coach the marketing team on what they need. So this is that perfect unification, and it will help dramatically if you can make sure they work together as opposed to working apart, which they often do.
Absolutely. With that, build your strategy, but think, if you're doing this for the first time, don't think too wide. Keep your objectives small, narrow, and easy to achieve more than anything. Go ahead and conduct audits. We'll come on to that in a little bit, and run a series of pilots. We probably ran, 4 or 5 pilots really, really early on. But keep reviewing those results. Your social selling strategy is something that will just keep on evolving, and your strategy will keep changing, and your objectives will keep changing. The better you get at it, but the more you want to learn from it as well. So those are our 6 steps that we identified. We did quite a lot of research. Our marketing team did loads of research on how people were starting in terms of social selling. And absolutely, we can say that this has worked for us. So here I'm talking about the profile audits, and I'm touching on one of Daniel's areas of expertise. He runs a masterclass in this area. So if you're not booked on it, do get yourself on it, absolutely. But we started with, well, what does our shop front as a business look like? Let's have a look at everyone's profile audits. And we actually ran workshops, but we ran a little poll and just did a little checklist on each of our employees' profiles and gave it a score from 1 to 5. Most people scored fairly low, but some people scored really high. And what's really useful there is this will give you the chance to now think about your brand, put together your professional headshot. In fact, Daniel, I'll let you go through these because it's your area.
I just want to echo as well. I mean, I think when we spoke about the webinar, you mentioned, I think the average score was about 2 out of 5 when you looked at the overall company. And it's the same. Every company that I see, you're looking at about a 2 out of 5 for the majority of people in where their profile sits. But for a lot of your prospects and customers, your profile's the first thing they're going to see. That's going to be their first impression of you and your business, is they will look at some of your team's LinkedIn profiles. And for some companies, it's making a bad impression, but it's a really easy place to start. So yeah, I mean, Jiggy, you've put some great points here. Your headshot is probably the most important. That's where everyone's going to go. First of all, when they look at your profile, they're going to look at the photo. They want to see what you look like. So having good professional headshots is important. Obviously, try and get a professional photographer if or when it's feasible. But in the meantime, it's pretty easy to take a good headshot on your smartphone. Just a nice plain background, some good lighting, shoulders and above, and you can get some really good photos. An on-brand header, good background behind your photo, again, that's on-brand, looks professional. All relevant information up to date. Have a good summary section, include media, make it as engaging as possible. Probably more than anything, make sure it's focused on your customer and not you. Your customers and prospects don't want to know about how amazing your salespeople are and how great they are at selling. They want to know how good they are at helping people. Who do they help? How do they help them? And what do they help them achieve? Make it about them, not about you. Have everything filled in, and you're going to see a significant sort of increase in where it goes. And I know we've got a slide coming up, I think it might be next, but uniformity is really powerful. Having everyone's profiles look uniform to the company, all corporate sort of themed and branded. Yes, they're going to be individual. They shouldn't all be the same text-wise. They should each, be individual to the person. But having it look uniform is the equivalent of someone walking into your office and seeing everyone dressed smart.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Daniel's hit the nail on the head there. I mean, as a SMAG group, we didn't just make sure that our profiles were up to date. We went around the whole business. And they don't have to be super amazing, but like Daniel says, they're going to be your shop front. It's like someone walking into your office and the impression that you want to give that person. So absolutely make the profile audits part of your early strategy and your objectives, just to get those updated and right before you start sharing any content. But here, in terms of a pilot, this is what we did. We researched what on earth a pilot should include, thought about our audits and getting that in place before we actually did any social posts, came up with our objectives. We collaborated via meetings. Now, in the early days, we met twice a week. Now we meet once a month, but it's an ever-evolving thing. What it will allow you to do by running a pilot is obviously look at the results, look at what's working, and then change it, but also improve it and increase what you're trying to achieve. So let's give you an insight into what we did and how we did it. We came up with some clear processes, certainly in terms of sales, but also in other communication areas throughout the business. Some of you are probably doing a lot of this already. But in terms of pre-sales, of course, you want to make sure that you're getting connections, you're following a company. Think about blogs that you've written as a business or as an individual and sharing that content. But also, with all of that key information that you've got, update something like a CRM system so you've got all of this information in one single place. You're not going to remember everything about the contacts, the companies that you're following. A CRM system can absolutely help you to collate that into an individual place.
I think that's where a lot of companies and salespeople get it wrong, is they kind of go rogue on this and they just go out and do bits and bobs, and the results may trickle through, but they're certainly not fantastic. If you really want to get the most out of this, you need to make it strategic, and recording it into a CRM is the only way you can then go back and have all that relevant information. You can track it so you can see what opportunities are coming from LinkedIn and social, so you know where to push resources. You can record all that information and research that you find. And just quickly looking at this slide from an overview, this is a really good cadence that I don't think many people would would follow. Connect, follow company, give value through your content, record all that information, and then engage in their content. These are all key steps.
And if you're doing, not right now, but on-site visits, but if you're doing meetings online, or you have events with customers online, or you've got an engaging session that you want to talk about, for us in terms of going live with a customer on their CRM project, use these events as episodes to either blog about or talk about or post about. Engage with the companies that you're talking to, follow them, like, comment on the posts that they're putting out there as well. Really get yourself known and understand the people that you're demoing to so that you stick out more than anything. So we mentioned it earlier, using a CRM system to gather, to track all the contents, all the contacts that you're working with, set reminders so that you can get back and engage with them. A CRM system will spearhead your social selling absolutely to the next level, and will take you that one level further. You've got the engagement that you've had with them in there, but also you can link things like pictures and look at the results from the campaign that you've just done as well. So we don't only use LinkedIn in terms of selling, pre-sales and customer sales. We use it for customer success as well. I'm really fortunate. I've been in the CRM business for 15, nearly 20 years now. I have a small group of people that whenever they have someone in their network that's looking for a CRM solution, they absolutely will let me know about it, will be commenting, will be posting, and that helps us as a brand to get reviews of real life customers that are using this day in, day out. In terms of customer success, it's not just your prospects that you're following, but make connections with your companies and like and share. It's a bit of I'll scratch, your back if you scratch mine. But find targets, find contacts that you want to target and engage with them. Use your material to try and home them in and keep them interested as well, but also track people that are viewing your posts as well. So on the next slide, I've actually got a screenshot from Sales Navigator. Yes, I know Sales Navigator is expensive, and this isn't a session to sell Sales Navigator at all. We in our business really use it just for 1 to 2 people because it is expensive.
I think when we were just talking about finding those key social advocates, especially maybe people of the SMAG team or whichever, however you want to call it, they might be good ones to invest in it. There is so much you can achieve on social, and certainly a lot of what I achieved in the first sort of several years of using LinkedIn was totally on the free account. Most people don't utilize those tools, but they'll pay and still not get results. Sales Navigator is great, but it's great at the right time for you, your business, and your team of using it. But definitely, if you're setting up a SMAG team and you really want to push it further, those are the people that would be great to have it at the start.
So, this is simply showing that with Sales Navigator, you can check when people have moved roles, but also that gives you new leads, referrals, so you can track where they've gone to and maybe engage with them in the new role that they've taken. Here's what we do as part of customer experience. So absolutely, I mentioned the go live scenario earlier. In terms of customer experience, we have project managers, we have members of our customer team who are going live with our customer projects. So of course we follow that company, we find target contacts, we engage with them really early on in the projects that we're working with them on. But we get their company agreement and contacts agreements to do a little post, maybe with some pictures, and just shout about the experience that we've had with them throughout that implementation. I've got a couple of examples that I've posted onto the screen, and I'll give you a bit of a background and touch on the ABM side of things as well. Me personally, I've been using Sales Navigator, but I've also been using LinkedIn to find contacts maybe in a vertical market. I take a small section, 20, 25 people. I've been working with my marketing team to really come up with an on-point message that would touch on some of the pain points in the industries that we've been working with. At the same time as posting those messages, getting acceptances, getting connections, I've come up with a customer that I'm already working with in that vertical market and posted something like I put up there. What that gives you is obviously a view of everyone else that's looking at that post, and it's really interesting to be able to see my customers' competitors, but everyone else that's interested in that market, because those will now become leads that you can work with. And that really helps you build your account-based marketing approach and social selling and combining them to work in a really effective way.
And really easy, simple stuff here. This is, a photo and a bit of text. This isn't about writing some sort of epic industry article. This is just sharing insights of value, but it's sort of subliminal advertising. You're not just pushing it out there promoting, buy this is what we're selling. You're talking about the success. You're just talking about how you are actually helping people, and that's what resonates. People don't want to be sold to, but they still have needs. They still want to buy, and when you're putting out content like this on a consistent basis, you're showing people that you're a trusted brand, you are credible, you are delivering results, and that attracts people.
And do you know, of all of the customers I've worked with, no one has ever said no. Everyone's happy for me to post on LinkedIn, shout about the project, obviously raise awareness of their brand as well.
Win-win.
So, don't be scared to ask, because in all honesty, I've never had anyone say no to me. So use that as a platform to shout about events that you're working on and just really engage people. Whether it's a blog, whether it's a small post, just go for it. And again, how do you measure that? So with that small group of 23, you can see on the screen here, messages that I sent out, I had 5 social connections, and I had one person engage with me and then go on to do a demonstration with me. So really small numbers, but it was a way for me to get started and feel confident about it. Now that I've got that data in my CRM system, I've got my leads there, I can use that information for lead nurture. It's all in one single place. Use a platform like Goldvision or your CRM tool to take social selling and really automate the information that you've just gathered. Pull your leads in, start to build around that strategy that you've got. You've sent out social messages, great. Now maybe send an email which includes the same vertical market, share some additional content. You're hitting that contact from all angles, but you're really resonating your brand more than anything.
And the only way you're ever going to get that right is if you're tracking it properly. If you're just sort of shooting here, there, and everywhere with random stuff, you can't remember what you did last week, you can't remember what you said or what you wrote, then it's not an effective approach. You need to be tracking this thing. And I mean, Goldvision's a fantastic CRM. There are plenty of CRMs out there and lots of tools that can help. The key is that you track this progress, that you are strategic with your approach, have a method behind it, go out there with a purpose, and your results are going to be far greater.
And that's why start with your strategies, start with your objectives so that you can start to build all of this at the same time and really make that post, that event, your social selling, to make the most of what you can. Here are some of our results. I can share the way that we started to track as a SMAG group, how effective we were being. Yes, we were looking at results in Goldvision, but the Social Selling Index, if any of you know about it, absolutely use that as part of LinkedIn to keep you engaged. For me, it really helped week on week just to see, I've dropped off a bit this week, because with LinkedIn, consistency is absolutely the key.
The SSI score is fantastic. It's LinkedIn's own scoring system, so it's done through them. It's not an external thing. And it's a way of measuring 4 key components of utilizing LinkedIn as a sales tool. I'm going to copy and paste it because it's totally free to access. So I'm just going to pop this into the chat box. If you follow that link, you'll be able to get your score completely free, again, through LinkedIn. And feel free to let us know in the comments what your score's coming out in. It's a score out of 100, and it should give you a bit of an insight of how much you're currently utilizing LinkedIn, and then it will help guide you into some of the key areas to get that score up. 70 to 80, very good score. I think most people tend to sit around the 40s and 50s, usually when they first look.
Yeah, I think as a SMAG group, We had people in 20s to 40s when we first started. I think me myself, I was probably only in the 40s to 50s, but think about the results that you want to achieve and how you're going to get those results and how you're going to monitor those results as well. The next slide for us is absolutely awesome. My marketing team, and I'll mention Kim, pulled these stats together, and you can just see, the number of new followers that we've had, the number of website click-throughs we've had, the number of conversions. We're talking within a year.
And these numbers are great, and I know we spoke, Jiggy, when we looked at this the other day, and obviously there's a little red there, but I love that red because that red's a good thing. What it shows you is that you're achieving all of this green with less reach, which means you're getting quality over quantity, and that's where you see a real transition when companies leverage social properly. Is they increase the quality, they increase the strategy. It might mean that they don't reach as many people, the engagement maybe not as high, but the conversions your conversions are insane. That's a huge number. Lots of web traffic, lots of new followers, great content.
Absolutely. So the point here is start to track. You may not be doing it, it may be a slow journey for you, but keep going, change your strategy, think about your objectives, do a little bit more. Consistency absolutely is the key with LinkedIn as a platform. So let's reflect and start to wrap up. Hopefully that's given you, a whole host of tips and tricks from the two of us today. Think about your research. Research is really important. And think about your profiles, because as Daniel said, it's your shop front. It's like walking into your office. Focus content and your strategy is really, really important. Think what's right for you as a person and you as a business as well. The next one there, LinkedIn stars, that came from Daniel actually. Look at yourselves as a business, look internally, look who you work with and think, who is right to start this? You might all be scared, and we were too. But the point is, unless you start, you won't see the results of it. And it really isn't that bad once you do get started. Do plan your objectives and keep on planning them. Keep going over them and think about running your pilot, because you won't know the effects until you actually start. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm actually going to post in. I'm so excited that you are all getting an exclusive of the ebook that we're sending out. It's now available to download from the chat area. I do hope that everyone's found some really useful tips and tricks, and just thank you for, signing in today and joining us.
This ebook, by the way, is fantastic. Sorry, Jiggy, but we had a good look at this over the last few days, and it's one of the best social selling LinkedIn ebooks I've seen. It's presented brilliantly, but the content's fantastic. A lady called Emma did ask, how do you track LinkedIn and social selling through Gold Vision? And what I'd recommend to Emma is reach out to one of the team, and I'm sure they'll be able to arrange a one-to-one conversation to show you down. Same for anyone who's interested. Gold Vision does track it brilliantly, and if you are, reach out, get a demo and have a look at it through. I'm sure you'll find lots of great stuff. But take advantage of this ebook. It is fantastic. And echoing what Jiggy said, thank you for all joining us today. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you take a lot away from it. And more than anything, go and use LinkedIn. Go and start using it. Run your first pilot. You won't know until you try. So hopefully this has given you some of the tools ready to go and do that.
Thanks, everyone, for joining today. If anyone has got any questions, please feel free to, type into the chat area. Daniel and I are still here for a few minutes, so do go ahead, post any questions that you've got. And Emma, please get in touch with me. Happy to help you.
Awesome stuff. Thanks, guys. So any questions, pop them in the chat box. We'll stay for a little bit of time to answer any questions. But apart from that, have a great day and happy social selling. Go use LinkedIn. Go generate sales.
Don't be scared. Just go for it. Definitely. You've got to all start somewhere.
We all do. We all do.
we all do, yeah. Any questions, then please feel free to pop those into the chat window.
It's
been great having you all there.
Nice to see a lot of people downloading the ebook as well. Such a good ebook. I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, and it just resonates everything we've been talking about, which it's great. There's even more tips and tricks in the ebook. Hi, Neil. If you missed it, we're running again later on today. I'll get in touch with you. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks again to everyone who's joined us. I really hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you go out there and continue to have a fantastic day.
Any questions, and please feel free to post those in.
Yeah, and if you don't have a question now and you go out and try it, make sure you connect with me and Jiggy. And if you have questions, pop us a message. We're keen to help. This doesn't stop at the end of this webinar. We're keen to support you guys. So, you know, Jiggy's been there and done this from a real good company perspective. There's tons of great advice to share. So make sure you connect with her and follow Gold Vision and the team, because they put out a lot of great content as well. Oh, we have a question. This is exciting. Building a blog for our prospects, not sure how to start a blog. So Christine's not sure how to start a blog. There's an interest in starting it, sort of not sure where to start. It is a big responsibility from a company's perspective. I guess one of the first things I'd recommend doing is start to consume more content. So start to read more blogs, go out there and look at some of your competitors, some of the other companies out there, people in the industry, people that are getting blogging right, and just read, look at what they're doing and look at what they're doing right. One of the best companies in my experience that from a corporate perspective got blogging right is a company called Gong.io. I'm going to write that in the chat box. They revenue intelligence platform, listen to cool sales calls and interpret the data, but the content they share is fantastic. And they literally came from startup company to being huge brand heavily through their blogs, and they were just insights. They shared insights relevant to their prospects and customers. So look for companies like that. I think there's a lot you can learn from how other people are doing it right and how others are doing it wrong as well.
I'm not a great writer, Christine, and I find it difficult to get going, but I actually just went on a content writing course, because blogs don't have to be huge, which is what I learned on the course. And yeah, there's lots of resource out there. So just get yourself on a writing course, and that will really help you and give you the confidence to take it that bit further.
Definitely. Andy's got a good question. How can I improve or establish my professional brand on LinkedIn? Andy, there are two key components to that. Be consistently active on LinkedIn is number one. Make sure your name is getting out there. Start commenting on people's posts every single day and sharing your own content. That gets your name out there, and then make sure the way you do it is by giving value. So as long as you're out there giving on a consistent basis, you will start to build a brand and a professional brand pretty quickly. But that consistency and value are really key components to that. Paul's asked about any recommended cameras and microphones. I mean, there are so many out there. I've got a Logitech webcam that I utilize. You know, I can't remember how much I paid for it. It wasn't a lot of money, but it's good quality. And I've gone through a variety of microphones. I'm actually using the microphone in my MacBook. It seems to be better than the external microphone I have. Again, you know, go to Amazon, reviews, it's all there.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Andy. Any more questions, feel free to post them. We've still got a few people on the line. Don't be scared to ask. Take a copy of the handbook if you haven't, the ebook if you haven't downloaded it.
I think looking at it, most people have downloaded it, which is great. I hope you enjoy reading it, and it helps. It does sort of take what we've talked about today to that kind of next step, and hopefully help you apply what you've learned, which is the next challenge. It's one thing to learn, it's one thing to listen, it's one thing to absorb. The next challenge is to go out there and start using these things. Go and update your profile, go start looking at the content strategy, look for your social selling LinkedIn stars in the team, and then start doing it.
Well, it's been a real pleasure, Daniel.
Oh, no, gee, it really has. Converting PowerPoint to PDF onto LinkedIn, does this create a professional image, or should I use a different format? No, I do the same. So when I'm sharing a PDF, whether it's in my profile or whether it's as a piece of content, I tend to do it on PowerPoint, and I do convert it to PDF.
Yeah.
Quality certainly doesn't seem bad from my perspective. The engagement's great. So, Paul, I do that and it works.
And to be honest, I use the design ideas that PowerPoint gives as well.
Oh, well, good, absolutely.
That really helps.
I like Christine's question. How do I connect with random business people without it seeming creepy? Probably the best way I can advise for that, Christine, is don't put creepy messages. You'd be surprised how many people try and connect with me and their messaging in the connection request is horrendous. I would try and find either a relevant sort of reference point. So I might want to connect with you, Christine, and I might say, Christine, just saw your post on LinkedIn, really enjoyed it, would love to connect. Nice, simple, and relevant. But actually, a lot of people will connect without a connection request message. So you can just send them a request, and a lot of people just accept it. There's nothing creepy about it. It's just growing your network. That's what business is about. It's about networking and, you know, growing the amount of people you know. So
and also a really great place, like Daniel says, is they don't have to be random people. If you look at who people in your network know, that will give you an insight into, oh, I noticed that you know this person. We've got a mutual connection. They don't have to be random.
No. It's only creepy if you make it creepy. Which some people do, unfortunately.
Any more questions?
Would it be okay to ask for referrals on LinkedIn, Paul? 100 million%.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Referrals and recommendations are the two things I recommend people tying together. So when you onboard a new customer, pop them a message, give them a call, pop them an email, and just say, look, really excited to work with you. If you get 5 minutes, would you mind writing me a quick recommendation on my LinkedIn profile? More than happy to do the same for you. And, just wondered whether you might know anyone else who could also benefit from what we're about to implement for you. Get a great recommendation on your profile, generate a few nice hot lead referrals, win-win. Most people are too scared to do it. So again, you'll be in a minority of people that can win from referrals and recommendations.
Yeah, and what's the worst that can happen? Someone decides not to respond to it. So there's no problem with asking.
No, there's a statistic. I think it's something like 91% of customers would be happy to give referrals, yet 11% of salespeople ask for them. Give or take a little bit around the numbers, but not a surprise, really.
I mean, very much we do when it gets to a live project. You've done something great for that customer. Ask them for a reference, ask them for a referral.
Yeah. And that's usually the best time to do it because they're happy, they're excited, you're delivering a result. Why wouldn't they want to? And people love to help. Think about it. When someone asks you for directions, you feel good. You feel, a little bit powerful. It's like, great, I can help someone. So when you ask for a referral, they feel good about it because they get to help you. They get to return the favor in a sense that you've helped them achieve something. So for them, it makes them feel good. We always feel bad like we're asking for too much, but actually the reality is it's a nice thing.
So last questions before we close down the session. The video will be available on YouTube and emailed out to you as well. So don't feel like you're missing out.
And to anyone who watches this on catch up, so who couldn't make it live today, or as you're watching it for the second time, whatever situation, if you have questions, please do connect with Jiggy and myself, and feel free to message us, get in touch with Jiggy. Any questions you have, keen to help.
Oh, thank you, Christine.
Oh, what other so Paul's got another last question. Actually, this is a good question. What other social platforms should we use? Twitter, Instagram, any others? The only thing that's going to define that, Paul, is wherever your customers are. If you have prospects and customers on Twitter, use Twitter. If you have prospects and customers on Instagram, use Instagram. If they're on Facebook, use Facebook, but use each one individually. I've one business on all social networks, but I only have small pools of prospects and customers on the other ones. Pretty much everyone's on LinkedIn, but I will have small pockets of prospects on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, but I have to treat each of those platforms very differently, sort of slight variations on how I would utilize LinkedIn. So yeah, wherever your customers and prospects are, you should be, and just go and research each of those individually so that you understand the etiquette and how to best use it.
Paul, you'll be the expert soon too. Right, well, thanks so much, Daniel. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Jiggy, this has been a lot of fun. I hope everyone
thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was really good. It was really good. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to everyone who's watching this on Catch Up, and hope to see you all using LinkedIn very soon.
Thanks, everyone. Take care. See you soon.
Bye.